Call it to order. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order of the Recycled Water Committee of Monterey One Water of June 13th, 2024 at 3 p.m. And I'll ask for a roll call.
Veranda,
Here.
Castroville, Marina Coast,
Here.
Monterey,
Here.
Pacific Grove.
Here. And we'll move to item 3, additions to the agenda. Does anyone on the committee have any additions to the agenda? Seeing none. Staff, any additions to the agenda today? Okay, we'll move on to approval of the agenda, item 4. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. We'll move on to general public comment. This is people wishing to comment on items not appearing on today's agenda. I see no members of the public in the audience, and therefore we'll ask if there's any public comment online. And I don't see any hands raised. And I'll go ahead and close public comment, general public comment, and move on to item 6 and consider approval of Recycled Water Committee minutes of May 16th, 2024.
So move. Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a vote, voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing no opposition, it passes unanimously. Move on to item 7, an update on Pure Water Monterey.
Good afternoon, Chair Smith and committee members. No slides today, not because the program is boring, but because out at the injection well field, we still have 2 drill rigs and AWPF expansion is still waiting for major equipment to be delivered. But as far as current water operations, still making water by mid to late May, the 3,500 acre foot requirement was satisfied. So between now and the end of June, the extra water recharge goes into the operational reserve. So good news there. Looking forward to the coming water year. As far as AWPF expansion, we did have 1 major delivery. That was for the UV equipment. So that was nice. Contractor said it was going to come and it did show up. As far as the injection well project, also the drilling is proceeding well. They've reached the bottom of the hole for the new deep well. So they've now been able to confirm what the final design for that well will be. An important, subtle but important milestone that 1,750 feet of underground aquifer looked just like we thought it would. That project also saw its first change order, around $30,000. It's actually a component of 4 different items. They're in the staff report, kind of a garden variety of small items, nothing to be worried about. AWPF also will see its first change order, also around $30,000 next month. We will probably also see some larger change orders on AWPF. Those will be owner initiated change orders. They'll be in the neighborhood of several $100,000. Those are the items that we've identified over the last couple of years of operations. Jose and Daryl's staff have figured out ways we could do it better, things that weren't incorporated in the original design, but we're adding now. And I remind the committee that this project came in a couple $1 million under the original budget. So we're going to take advantage, not gold plating, but take advantage of this opportunity to add those improvements. With that, I'll hand it back to the chair for any questions.
Director or committee member questions? Director or committee member Hibina?
So how many acre feet, I guess, do you that you calculate to go into the reserve for the?
I think a little north of 300.
300
by the end of June.
by the end of June?
Yeah.
And what's the total acre feet delivered into the Seaside Basin to date?
Today it'd be about 15,200 off the top of my head.
Yeah, we just passed 15,000 last month. Right?
Yeah.
So a
Awesome.
little over 15,000 since February of 2020.
Very good.
Well, thank you very much for the update. There's no further discussion. We'll move on to item 8.
That's me. Good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm Johanna Vargas, the Grants and Contracts Administrator, and I'm here to provide an update on the award for the Inflation Reduction Act Tax Consultant Services Contract. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, IRA, enables entities like Monterey Water to take advantage of certain tax credits, clean energy tax credits, through its elective pay provisions, also known as the pay. The IRA will enable us to file an annual tax return with the IRS to claim a refund for any clean energy projects that meet a set of requirements. We can potentially receive a refund on our Monterey renewable energy project of up to 40%, given that we meet a certain set of requirements. Mike and I have been attending a number of webinars given by the IRS and talked to different consultants and experts on the elected pay. And from that, we determined that due to the many complexities of this refund and elected pay credits, we needed an expert consultant to help us out with this credit. We put an RFP out on April 8, 2024, and we received 2 proposals. We went over the proposals and interviewed both firms and determined that E.D. Bailey is suitable to provide the services that we currently need. We are working with them to finalize the scope of work and the fees for these services, and intend to bring this item as an action item at the end of this month. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Director, questions? Director Moore?
Yes, so as a government agency, we don't file a corporate tax return, do we? So is this a credit against payroll taxes?
No, this would actually be a payment, or go ahead. Sorry.
So
This is what's so exciting about this, actually.
Yeah, what the IRS is doing is actually enabling entities like us that don't file tax returns to file sort of a refund tax. They're opening a portal for us to register so we can file a tax return. And that will mean that we get a refund back from the IRS.
So you indicated that the calculated basis of the refund is 40%
Up to 40%.
Up to
of what?
the expenditure. So you spend $1 million, you could be getting a check back for 400,000.
Okay, so this would be the expenditure on whatever renewable energy projects we're working on.
Correct.
And I assume knowing the IRS, there's some list of things that qualify as an expenditure in that regard and a list of things that don't.
That's correct. And that's why we need someone like E.D. Bailey to come in and tell us what qualifies and what doesn't, so that once we file our tax, in the case of an audit, we have everything in place. Means they're giving us, they can potentially be credits for domestic content, for prevailing wage, for low-income communities. So there are different items where we can get credits for, and we need to really dig into that and make sure that we get the most that we can get, the most.
And so somebody's going to have to go through our accounting records, identify those expenditures, and unless I miss my guess, this is the Internal Revenue Service, they're going to potentially either want as part of the filing, or potentially if they audit it, we'd have to have some sort of written justification as to why this expenditure was on this, and this is why it qualifies, blah, blah, blah.
And that's one of the reasons Johanna is saying up to 40%. What you see for the different criteria, which we probably won't meet all of them, it'll be something less than that, but you're absolutely right.
Certain items don't get 40%, but certain items maybe only get 20% or whatever.
Maybe we don't get 40% because we're not low income, or there's so many criteria. Hence the reason looking for someone that can help out with this relatively complex tax credit system on all of our projects. Because initially we had started, so from a history standpoint, we started talking to Congressman Panetta, who was one of the primary drivers for this investment tax credit. As it started moving forward, Johanna and their group actually had contacted Deloitte Consulting, who was one of the ones in the industry that was conversant in this after doing the RFP. That's why we're sitting here today with E.D. Bailey. because we need that help. And remember the CIP that Matt Thompson identified, not only do we have the $8 million project at our digester right now, which includes, the gas conditioning and so on. I'm sorry, the polishing unit for organics and the mixers. There's all those other projects. So teeing it up at this point to see what we can accomplish before it needs to be 5% started by the end of this year.
That's correct.
That's hence the sort of mad rush to get this done.
So this is mostly on future expenditures as opposed to past expenditures, or?
It's future expenditures. Well, it can include what we've expended thus far with the digesters, hopefully, on renewable energy projects specifically.
And then one final question. So,
And
well,
actually, I'm sorry, Tom, let me
okay.
just ask Johanna to clarify, because there's that time frame that you need to be 5%
You need to start construction,
in
at least
this
5%
calendar year.
by the end of this calendar year, yes.
And then expenditures can continue for how long?
Right now, it's up to 2029.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
so there you have it.
Okay.
As long as we start construction, we'll be okay. And then you file the refund, tax refund, once the project is complete. So we have different components, different projects. As soon as the project is complete, then we can file the tax. So we can potentially file multiple tax returns depending on the project.
Wow. And then there's probably some definition of what comprises a project,
Yes.
because
so
you could
we-
put it in little pieces so that you get the money quicker.
Or as a
But-
program that if we start one component today, it could be the entire program until 2029.
And
So it
that's not-
depends how to look at it. Hence the reason wanting this contract with IE Bailey, because they
So-
do have greater expertise.
Last question, which kind of relates to what we all, or many of us, have to do when we file our income taxes. We have to decide whether to itemize our deductions or take the standard deduction, and there's always a trade-off which you're going to do better. So in this case, we're going to be paying this contractor X dollars. We, the board members, probably won't know what that X dollars is till we get our board packet for the next board meeting. But are you all confident that 40% of some of our expenditures is likely to exceed or maybe far exceed how much we're going to spend with this consultant?
Yes.
Okay. We'll hold you to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Director Rubino.
So does IRS, do they have a cap on what they give out, or they just whatever qualifies? I mean, because I can imagine with some of these energy ideas or these plans that we have, projects coming up, it's gonna be really, really, the price tag's gonna be huge. So are they do they say that they're gonna cap you at a certain amount?
No, that I'm aware of. There's no cap out.
I have not seen any cap. It was truly, so the investment tax credit was under the Biden, what was the,
Inflation Reduction Act.
Inflation Reduction Act. Thank you. So it was sort of let's get things out the door. Hence the reason you have to be into construction this year, because they wanted stuff that had immediate impacts. But I have not seen a cap on it, because you're right, private companies are addressing this. And let's just say, I'm making this up to a certain extent, but Coca-Cola company puts solar farms in, well, they're going to get some tax credit on that expenditure. So, and then it offsets their energy costs moving forward. And it was truly just trying to get that into the economy sooner rather than later.
Director Williamson.
So I see there's no cost associated with this. Do we have a number that we anticipate this costing us?
I don't have a number just yet. I'm working with the consultant, on finalizing. I should be able to bring that number out for the board meeting.
Okay, and then will this come, oh, okay, so it'll
This-
be part of will it be on the consent agenda when it comes? Will it be
It's an action item.
an action?
It'll be an
Okay.
action item because we don't have the cost right now. But just, I mean, ballpark, you've talked to a couple other firms, right? I was just thinking Deloitte, which from an order of magnitude, I think that theirs was a little more.
It was up to like in the $1 million.
Yeah.
It's throughout the,
The entire
it-
Process, right?
4 or 5 years.
And then do we have an estimated range in regards to how much we could potentially get back from doing this?
So just on the 8 million, and actually it's an $8.25 million project, right? For the digester. I mean, if you're thinking 40% there, there's 3.2 million. But like we said, that's the upper end. It's going to be something less than that. And so we're very,
One project.
that's one project. So we're very cognizant on how we package this thing and how much they're going to cost. And frankly, if when Johanna and others negotiate with them, can we do it in chunks depending how our projects move forward as well?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you. I do have one, or just a comment, and then Director Moore has another comment, but, I was just wondering if you know yet where the money has to go. Is it directed to certain topics, or does it just come straight back to the agency for however you want to use it? And if not, if we don't know that, then we can always ask our people that. But sounds like
As,
interesting.
it comes back as a return to the agency directly.
So there's no
okay.
conditions on it
Yeah,
necessarily.
there's no conditions.
It will go into our accounts, hopefully for future capital,
Wow.
depending
That's
what
great.
the board decides at that point in time.
That's great. Okay, Director Moore.
So in your example, using Coca-Cola, you must be saying that they haven't yet figured out how to avoid paying any corporate taxes. Nick, would you sell my Coca-Cola stock, please, quickly?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. That was a very interesting item. Look forward to seeing it at the meeting. Thank you for the comic relief, Director Moore, Chair Moore.
From the government, I'm here to help.
Okay, we'll go to item 9. Consider recommending approval of a contract amendment number 3 with TJCAA for design of the CP310 plant electrical switchgear project in the not to exceed amount of $60,100. It's a long title. Go ahead. Thank
Apologize
you.
for that.
No, you're fine.
Good afternoon, Chair Smith and members of the committee. Jennifer Gonzalez, CIP Manager. In 2019, the board approved an initial contract with TJC and Associates for design of electrical upgrades to the 21 kV electrical switchgear at the RTP. Since that time, staff has returned with 2 additional amendments to the contract after the contract was put on hold and then project delivery methods required a rework of the plans and specifications. This 3rd amendment to the contract will finalize the plans and specifications, which are currently at the 95% design stage. TJC will now assist us with negotiating with PG&E as we get their design review process completed over the next 6 months. And the project is anticipated to bid in March of 2025. Separately or concurrently, staff is also in the process of applying for a $7.5 million grant from the CEC to consolidate our 3 separate electrical feeds at the RTP. That includes the RTP, the SVRP, and the AWPF, which are all separately metered and served at this point. We would be, through that process, we would be able to expand the use of renewable energy in the future and see cost savings overall. So this project is a prerequisite for that consolidation, should we get those grant funds, and we'll be phasing it according to what we hear from the CEC. Staff asks that the Recycled Water Committee recommend that the board approve a contract amendment number 3 with TJC and Associates for design of the CP310 plant electrical switchgear project in the not to exceed amount of $60,100 for a total contract amount of $681,898.47. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions now? We'll take it out to the public. I see no one in chamber, so we will ask if there are any attendees online that would like to comment on this item. Seeing none, bring it back to the board for action and discussion.
Move approval.
I have a motion and a second. Take a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Gonzalez. We'll move on to item 10. That's it's a lot of words, so I will just say let's move on to item 10, and I'll ask. Is it going to be Daryl Harris or Jose? Okay,
Jose.
Go ahead.
Say it now.
Oh,
No, thank you. It's in the record.
Good afternoon, Chairman Smith and members of the committee. I'm Jose Guzman, Operations Manager, and I'll be presenting on behalf of Daryl Harris, the Maintenance and Utilities Manager. Monterey One Water has a fleet of trucks with cranes, trailers, cars, and various equipment associated with our operations. M1W often has the need for an aerial lift, a bucket truck, which is not in our current fleet capabilities, and we must rent at a cost of approximately $2,000 per week. Recent additions to our infrastructure require the use of a bucket truck to reach assets for proper maintenance. Staff evaluated the need to add a mobile aerial lift to our fleet to reduce rental costs and downtime, and more importantly, increase efficiency in responding to maintenance calls without delays and waiting for rental equipment to be delivered. Staff advertised for bid on May 20th and 27th in alignment with M1W procurement manual, and had one bid reply from Custom Truck One Source from Kansas City and one no bid response reply from the Ford store out of Morgan Hill. Custom Truck One Source cost a total of $157,522.18, which includes delivery and sales taxes. And delivery is scheduled in the first quarter of 2025. Staff will be modifying the staff report to change the PO language to have the board approve the retail buyer's order for $138,000 plus delivery, and then taxes will be paid to the state of California. The recommendation is that the board approve the RBO, the retail buyer's order, and then staff will move forward and make changes to the staff report reflecting the cost. I'm here to take any questions.
All right. Do we have any director questions?
Move approval.
Oh, we have a motion on the floor
Second.
and a second. And now we will, hold on, before we do discussion, let me just make sure if there's any attendees that would like to. Do you have a question first?
I do have a question.
Okay, Director Moore, go ahead.
So my understanding is that there are some, and I'm not sure whether they are state-run organizations that allow us to buy this sort of equipment more cheaply. Is this purchased through one of those, or it's not do as well in terms of pricing and?
Well, I'm hoping Jim can answer. We have been.
No, I'll go ahead and answer.
Oh,
This
okay.
is Tammy McNary. No, we did not go through the procurement Sourcewell or the other agency that we did. We went out and advertised and asked for bidders to come in until we work out the new procurement manual and get with legal. We're kind of putting on hold our use of Sourcewell.
So, but you're right, Tom, there are a couple organizations, Sourcewell, as Tammy mentioned, and there's another one that is compliant with public purchasing, but we are just trying to tighten everything up to make sure that it's clear for Jose and Daryl and others that use those, and also to what limits, because
Right.
they have an abundance of options that you can purchase. And Jim, did you have any clarifications on this you'd like to throw out, or was Jose's comprehensive?
Yeah, I don't think I do, Paul, relative to this procurement. Our staff would be executing essentially a purchase agreement with the supplier. If the board approves it at the next board meeting for the specified price, if there is a price change pursuant to that buyer offer agreement, M1W can cancel the contract.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take it out to the public. We got one hand, Mr. Wagner.
Go ahead, Mr. Wagner. And you are muted.
Unmute, there it is. All right, so I presume you can hear me now.
Yes.
A simple question, will there be any hidden costs such as an increase in cost for insurance for the vehicle to Monterey One? And also, does it require a specialized license such as a CDL for driving? And if so, I presume you already have drivers certified to drive such.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wagner. I don't see any other hands. We'll go ahead and close public comment, and I'll ask Mr. Shudo if you have a response to either of those questions at
Certainly
this.
can. So we have the licenses. Go ahead. Jose.
Yes, correct. We have the licenses. I don't believe we'll require one for this particular vehicle, and the training for operating, usually a rep will come out. We went through this because we did recently rent one, and the rep came out, trained our staff. And we do have several, I'd probably say near a dozen staff, myself included, with a commercial driver's license that would be able to operate the vehicle should it be required.
Yeah, with respect to it, I mean, I'll just throw in, I mean, of course, I don't think it's a hidden cost. I think the insurance is just a cost of doing business as far as any
Correct.
vehicles in
We insure
California.
all of our fleet, and so that just goes into an addition to our fleet.
Right.
Yeah, and that's we insure through CSRMA, so it'll be the pooled insurance as we have for all of our vehicles.
Great. Thank you so much. So we have a motion by Director Williamson, second by Director Moore. Any further discussion or questions from the committee? Okay, I'll go ahead and take a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Thank you so much for that. And we'll go ahead and move on to item 11, staff reports.
None from me. Anyone
I
else?
have one. This is Tammy McNary. We had a fire at the RTP,
Oh, yeah.
a small fire yesterday.
That was
And
bad.
I'd like Jose, who was actually part of the putting out the fire and addressing it, to provide details. That's the only staff information I was going to provide.
Yes, thank you, Tammy. Yeah, we did yesterday at about 9 o'clock. One of our engineering staff came by my office and asked, "Hey, I see some smoke. Are we burning something back there?" And we quickly realized that it was on our property, on our side of the property. It was very close to the fence line with Regen. Fortunately, staff, myself included, the maintenance and utilities team and operations responded. We slowed it down with some fire extinguishers, but it was a little windy, so it did kind of continue to spread. And within 15 minutes, we had hoses rolled out, hooked up to one of our on-site fire hydrants, and mitigated the issue. By the time North County Fire responded, the flame was out. We were just kind of doing some mitigation, creating a bigger fire break and making sure the ground was thoroughly soaked. And they kind of even joked and said, "Why'd you guys even call us? You got it under control." So it was good. We haven't, pinpointed the cause. We did speak with the folks at Regen and their safety officer. They use bird abatement services as well that uses pyrotechnics. And it was in a location where it could have been either or, their pyro or our pyro, because we use the same thing. So we suspect that's what it was. We did take mitigating measures today. We started turning over and cutting the weeds. That was the recommendation by the fire chief, is like, "Hey, you guys handled it. Be careful where those pyros are used." And then he's like, "I do recommend you kind of cut some of these weeds back." So we started that first thing this morning.
Well, might be careful because there might be a recruitment effort here to have members join our fire department in the city of Monterey.
I'm going to recognize Mr. Gilpin. He has his hand raised.
Thank you. I just wanted to update, Paul, probably aware of this, the EPA listed PFAS as a hazardous substance. That listing will go into effect July 8th of 2024. The indirect result of that is our biosolid disposal. And a lot of folks are seeing refusals to take the biosolids to dispose of them, or increases in price. So obviously that could be of significance to M1W.
Okay. Thank you. You want to comment on 11 staff report?
A question
Okay, go ahead.
to Jose was, since the fire started right by our fence line, was there any damage to the fence itself?
Negative. It's a chain link fence, and I'd say maybe roughly 20 feet from it. It was just close to it.
Right.
Yeah. No proper damage at all other than the burned weeds.
And were you able to get any of the hot dogs cooked?
Now
Oh,
one of the
okay.
guys did save a gopher that was,
Oh, save a gopher.
yeah,
Okay.
so that was probably the highlight.
Director Abimus?
There's so much there.
Yeah.
Okay. Director Habina? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to item 12, committee member reports. Any committee members wishing to make a report?
Kudos to staff for doing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking care of the
Getting the
fire.
fire under control
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
not really in the job description, but it's Monterey one. We get it done.
Other duties.
I was just gonna say, other duties as assigned.
Miscellaneous. Okay, we'll go ahead and we have a closed session item today, so we will go ahead and take public comment on the item. We're at item 13, and the item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation per Government Code Section 54956.9 D2 and 4. Number of potential cases 2. Is there anyone in the virtual audience wishing to make comment on that particular item today? All right, I do not see any hands. There's no one in the chamber for the record, and so therefore I will adjourn this meeting to closed session, item 14A.
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, we're back on the record here.
4:10.
It's 4:09 p.m. And I just ask if we have anything to report out, city agency council.
There's no reportable action.
Okay, no reportable action, and therefore we're at the end of our adjournment. So thank everyone for today, and adjourn this meeting at 4:10 p.m.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
That's pretty good. Quick.